Man, let me throw something at you right off the bat. What if I told you the Premier League, the craziest, most cutthroat league in the world, might not even be giving us the full picture of who deserves to be on that massive European stage? Like, think about it. Every season, you've got these absolute juggernauts fighting at the top, but you've also got these hungry wolves chasing right behind. And the question that keeps sparking fights in pubs, debates online, arguments between friends is this: should there be more European spots for Premier League clubs, or are we already giving away too many golden tickets? Because that's where the whole thing gets spicy. On one side, you've got people saying the league is too competitive not to send more warriors into Europe. And on the other, you've got people screaming that it kills the quality, it ruins the prestige, it waters down the Champions League. And man, when you actually sit with that, it's way bigger than just football. It's about ambition. It's about fatigue. It's about what the fans really want. And by the time we're done breaking this down, you're either going to be yelling,
yeah, give us more spots,
or shaking your head saying, nah, keep it rare, keep it sacred. But either way, you're not going to look at this debate the same again. So buckle in, because this is one of those conversations that gets louder the deeper you go. Man, when you talk about this whole expansion of European spots thing, it's wild. Because the Premier League is already this freak show of talent, money, and competition. And now we're looking at a situation where more clubs could potentially be thrown into the European spotlight. And the question is, does that make it better or worse, right? Like, think about it. Traditionally, you had this clean cut top four go into the Champions League. That's it, no debate. And it felt like this sacred thing, like a gauntlet that only the most brutal, consistent, high-level teams could survive. But now with UFA's coefficient system and the way the landscape keeps shifting, suddenly there's talk about 5 clubs, maybe 6 in the future, fighting in the Champions League. And the idea is that because England's league is so stacked, they deserve more representation. But then you got to ask yourself, what happens to the meaning of the competition when you just keep adding seats at the table? Man, because if the table gets too big, is it still elite dining or just another buffet? At the same time, imagine being a fan of one of those clubs that usually finishes 5th, 6th, 7th, like Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, West Ham, and suddenly you're not just watching the big boys on TV. You're on the road to Milan, to Madrid, to Munich, and that experience alone is insane. It's like this psychedelic trip for football fans, just a whole new world. And honestly, that's the dream, right? That's why fans grind through cold, rainy nights at the stadium to maybe one day hear that anthem and watch their team walk out under European lights. So in that sense, expanding the spots feels like this gift to the people who love the game. But here's the problem: logistics. Man, the human body, the schedule, the reality of playing 2-3 games a week, jet-lagged flights, constant training, domestic games piling up, cup fixtures, and then you throw an international duty, and you start to see why managers lose their minds over fixture congestion, because it's like running a marathon while fighting a cage fight every weekend. Your squad gets stretched, your stars burn out, hamstrings popping, knees giving out, and suddenly that dream of Europe turns into this nightmare of mid-table mediocrity because you've exhausted your best players trying to juggle too many competitions. And then people say, oh, but the smaller clubs deserve it. Let them in, let them dream. And sure, absolutely. But at the same time, the Champions League has to mean something. It has to feel like the pinnacle, not just an extended Europa League with a fancy anthem. So this expansion thing is really like a double-edged sword. It gives opportunities, spreads the wealth, lets more fans experience the madness, but it also risks watering down the quality and killing some of the prestige. And the craziest part is fans are split on it. Some say the more the merrier. Others say keep it rare, keep it sacred. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But either way, the whole conversation exposes how football is evolving into this insane entertainment juggernaut where the line between competition and content keeps getting blurrier. Dude, this whole idea of competition versus quality in football, especially when you're talking about European spots, it's like this eternal tug of war. Because on one side, you've got the beauty of competition, the chaos, the unpredictability, the underdogs clawing their way up and punching giants in the mouth. And on the other side, you've got this need to preserve the level, to keep the tournament feeling like it's filled with killers, not just filler. And the question is, where's the balance, right? because the Premier League is already this insane gladiator pit where 10 different clubs can realistically take points off each other. And that's what makes it so entertaining. But if you just throw open the gates and start letting in every team that had a hot season, you might dilute the actual spectacle of Europe. Like imagine a Champions League where half the teams are gassed by Christmas, stumbling through group stages, getting smashed 5-0 by Bayern or Madrid, and suddenly the whole thing feels like a mismatched circus instead of the sharpest steel clashing against steel. But then again, man, competition is what makes sports magical. Like think about Leicester City winning the league. Nobody on earth saw that coming. That's raw competition. That's the reason people fall in love with this game, because you get these stories that defy the script. And so if you're a fan of Villa or Brighton and you've built something, you've earned your place. Why should you be shut out just because some old guard clubs are used to hogging the spotlight, right? And then you start thinking about quality. What even is quality? Is it just the big names, the money, the star power? Or is it the ability to grind, adapt, survive, and win against odds? Because sometimes the smaller clubs bring a different kind of quality, not flashy, but gritty, tactical, smart, and that adds to the tournament in ways that pure star power can't. But if you expand too much, you risk making it messy. You risk turning the Champions League into this bloated thing where the early stages don't even matter because the gap between the top dogs and the newcomers is so massive. And you get these dead games, these blowouts that nobody really cares about, and fans start tuning out until the quarterfinals, and that's dangerous. Because what makes the Champions League magic is that even in the group stage, you've got heavyweight clashes. Real Madrid versus PSG, City versus Barcelona. Those are movie-level events. And if you water that down, it loses its aura. So it's tricky, man, because competition is democracy. It's chaos. It's the raw fight, but quality is hierarchy. It's curated. It's designed to protect the brand, and football is stuck between those two forces. And maybe that's why this debate feels so real, because fans want both. They want the unpredictability of underdogs and the guarantee of watching world-class talent go at it. And the system can't always give you both without breaking something. You know what's crazy, man? This whole idea of rewarding ambition in football, because that's where the soul of the game really lies. It's not just the trophies or the money. It's that hunger from clubs that aren't supposed to be there, but claw their way into the spotlight anyway. Like you look at these mid-table Premier League clubs, Villa, Brighton, West Ham, even Newcastle in this new era. And for them, getting into Europe isn't just a nice bonus. It's life-changing. It's validation. It's like proving to the world that you belong on that stage. And the argument for giving out more European places is exactly that. It's about rewarding the grind, the ambition, the risks these clubs take to break the monopoly of the so-called Big Six. Because think about it, man, these teams aren't operating with unlimited budgets or superstar squads. They're building brick by brick, making smart signings, developing players, pushing boundaries. And if they succeed in sneaking into the top 5 or 6, why shouldn't they be given the chance to test themselves against the best in Europe? That's ambition rewarded. But the problem is the system historically has been tilted toward the rich, the established, the powerful, the clubs who can stumble through a bad season and still bounce back into Europe like it's nothing. While the ambitious climbers are treated like temporary guests at the party. Like, yeah, thanks for coming, but don't get too comfortable. And I think fans are tired of that, man, because ambition is what keeps the league alive. It's what makes people believe that something extraordinary can still happen, that football isn't just a closed shop where the same teams recycle trophies. And you can see it in how fans respond when an outsider breaks through, when Leicester made it, when Atalanta did damage in the Champions League, or when West Ham went and won the Conference League. There's this electric energy because people respect ambition. They respect the grind. And the truth is, rewarding that ambition with European spots isn't just good for those clubs. It's good for the sport. It spreads the wealth. It develops players. It gives more fans around the world a reason to watch. And it creates new stories because sports without stories are just numbers, man. And ambition creates the wildest stories. But of course, there's always a flip side because ambition doesn't always equal quality. Sometimes these clubs get there and get wrecked like deer in headlights against Europe's heavyweights. And people say, oh, see, they don't belong, but that's short-term thinking because you don't grow without opportunity. You don't get better unless you're exposed to that level. And If football is only ever rewarding the clubs who are already there, then what's the point? Ambition dies, the ladder gets pulled up, and the game turns into this predictable cycle. So rewarding ambition through more European spots is like injecting oxygen into the sport. It keeps the fire burning. It gives hope to fans who aren't wearing a Liverpool or United jersey. It tells them your club's effort actually matters, and man, without ambition, what are we even watching for? Man, fixture congestion and fatigue in football is one of those things that doesn't get talked about enough until you see it ripping players apart mid-season, because when you actually break it down, it's insane. You've got these guys playing 60, sometimes 70 matches in a year when you stack league games, domestic cups, Champions League, or Europa nights, international breaks, friendlies, preseason tours across the world. And it's like, who's actually built to handle that? The human body is not designed to perform at that high intensity nonstop. And yet we just expect these athletes to go out there, sprint for 90 minutes, get smashed into, cover 12 kilometers a game, and then do it again 3 days later. And it's brutal. It's like putting fighters in the octagon every weekend. Eventually the body breaks. You see hamstrings popping, ACLs tearing, guys mentally burning out, because it's not just the physical stress. It's the constant travel, flying across time zones, hotels, disrupted sleep, training in between, and then trying to stay sharp enough to perform at the absolute top level. And the crazy part is the fans don't care about that, right? They just want their club winning. They want the magic of Europe. They want to see their stars on the pitch every time. But the reality is fixture congestion kills the quality of the game. You watch some of these matches in December or January, and it's like zombies running around, players half a step slower, a decision making off just trying to survive, and managers lose their minds about it all the time. Like Klopp, Pep, Mourinho, they've all ranted about it because they know you can't keep the standard if you're grinding players into dust, and then add in international tournaments like the Euros, Copa America, AFCON, the World Cup shoved in the middle of a season like they did in Qatar, and it's just relentless. There's literally no break, no real off season. And that's where the fatigue gets real dangerous, because it's not just the legs, it's the mind. Man, players stop enjoying the game, stop performing with that same edge. And when you're talking about expanding European spots, that just means more clubs dragged into this cycle, more squads trying to stretch themselves across 4 competitions. And most of them don't have the depth that City or Madrid have. So suddenly you're watching these smaller squads crumble under the pressure. Their league form tanks, their European dream turns into a nightmare, and fans are pissed off because it looks like failure, but really it's just exhaustion. It's biology catching up, and it raises this huge question. Do we actually want more football, more tournaments, more fixtures, or do we want better football, sharper games, fresher players? Because you can't have both. And the way it's going, fixture congestion is only getting worse. More money, more competitions, more travel. And at some point, man, you got to wonder when the breaking point comes, when the product on the pitch just collapses under the weight of fatigue. Man, the fans' perspective on this whole debate about more European spots is so wild, because it's completely split down the middle. Like on one side, you've got the diehards who believe European football should stay this sacred, elite, once in a generation experience that only the very best teams get to touch, because that's what makes it so special. It's rare. It's exclusive. It's not for everybody. It's like being invited into some secret society where only the strongest, most consistent clubs survive. And for them, watering that down feels like you're cheapening the product. Like if everyone gets a participation trophy, then the real winners don't feel as legendary anymore. But then on the other side, you've got this massive group of fans who are like, man, give us the chance. We've been sitting in the stands for decades watching mid-table scraps, praying just to make it into the top 6. And now if UEFA opens the door for more teams, suddenly those dreams are alive. Suddenly Newcastle fans, Villa fans, Brighton fans, they're booking flights to Milan. They're singing in stadiums in Germany. They're watching their heroes line up against Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. And that's a once-in-a-lifetime moment that money can't buy. That's generational pride, like fathers telling their kids, I was there when we went to Europe. I saw us play under those lights, and you can't put a price on that. And so from a fan's perspective, it's not just about prestige. It's about access. It's about feeling like the game isn't just controlled by the same rich clubs over and over again, but that there's hope for the rest, that if your team has ambition, if your manager builds something, if your players push beyond expectations, then you as a fan get to ride that wave and live that story. But at the same time, a lot of fans also see the burnout. They see the fixture congestion, the tired legs, the drop in league form, and suddenly that European dream doesn't feel so shiny when your team is playing Thursday night in Prague and then losing 3-0 on Sunday back home. And you're like, damn, was it worth it? So fans are caught in this paradox. They want the glory, but not the pain. They want the prestige, but not the dilution. And depending on where you stand, if you support a giant like City or United or Liverpool, you probably don't want more spots because you already own the table. But if you're from one of those rising clubs, you're begging for more because that's your ticket to the big time. And that's why this debate is so emotional, because football is not just business. It's identity, it's community, it's pride, it's memories, and fans are always going to see it through that lens, not through TV contracts or UEFA coefficients, but through the pure desire to see their team, their colors, their songs echo across Europe, because for them, that's the ultimate dream. So when you put it all together, man, this whole debate about more or fewer European spots in the Premier League isn't really about numbers on paper. It's about what we want football to be. Do we want it to stay this exclusive club for the best of the best, where only the absolute killers make it through? Or do we want to open the doors, let more people in, spread the dream, and see the chaos unfold? Because both sides have truth in them. Both sides make sense. And that's why it's so damn fascinating. On one hand, you've got competition and ambition, these underdogs clawing their way up, trying to prove they belong. And on the other, you've got the reality of fatigue, fixture pileups, and the fear of diluting the magic. And at the end of the day, it circles back to the fans, man, because this whole thing exists for them, the sleepless nights, the chance, the heartbreak, the joy, all of it. And maybe the answer isn't about what's fair or logical. Maybe it's about what keeps the sport alive, what keeps people glued to their screens, screaming in stadiums, and dreaming that one day their club could write its own story under those European lights. And honestly, whatever side you're on, that's the beauty of football. It's messy, it's emotional, it's never black and white, and that's why we love it. So yeah, good luck to all the fans out there. Good luck to your teams, whether you're chasing Champions League nights or just hoping for a top half finish. May your club surprise you. May your passion stay alive. And thank you for sticking around and listening to this rant, because at the end of the day, football's about all of us being in it together, sharing the madness. And I appreciate you for being part of that ride.